The truth of the matter is, mistakes do happen, but these are some things that you're going to want to avoid when purchasing a home. What's up everyone, welcome back to Free to Be. David here, and thank you for joining me for another video. Now in today's video, I want to go over some common things that you can avoid when purchasing your home because they're generally looked at as mistakes. Now all of these might not be relevant to your specific situation, but they are pretty important, so make sure you watch this entire video. Now before we get started, if you are new to my channel, I cover financial literacy here, and I try to track my progress to financial independence. And hopefully by doing that, I'm creating a blueprint that others can use and that contains valuable and helpful information. So if you are new to the channel, please take a moment and just click the subscribe button down below. I really do appreciate the support. And if you're not new, thank you so much for joining me again. Now, whether you're a first-time home buyer or this is your second or third time around, mistakes can happen. And it's definitely worthwhile to make a concerted effort to try to avoid certain mishaps. And by doing that, you're obviously going to put yourself in a better place when it comes to home buying. And I can tell you that these were all very helpful to me. I actually went through this process about 7 months ago for the first time and became a first-time home buyer. And knowing these things really did help. So make sure you tune in for the entire video so you don't miss out on any of the information. So the first thing you're going to want to avoid is not gathering enough quotes from different lenders. Just like any other type of shopping, you're going to want to make sure that you find the best deal for you. And it might be easy to kind of fall in a trap and just go with the first person that approves you for a loan. But by doing that, you're actually maybe missing out on some better offers out there. So spend the time, do the research, and shop around a little bit. Don't just go with the first lender that offers you a loan. And it's really important to remember that just like any other business, these folks want your business. You can leverage that by getting multiple offers and seeing which ones can match the other person's rates or give you a more competitive offer. And it just also helps to know your value and know your worth. If one lender approves you for an $800,000 mortgage, but that really does seem like outside of your price range and outside of what you're comfortable spending, check another couple lenders, because if another two approve you for like $500,000, then you really couldn't afford that $800,000 house in the first place. Now the second thing you want to avoid is shopping for a home without a pre-approval letter, because that's basically like shopping without a budget. And without a budget, you're more likely to overspend on a house or miss out on certain homes because a lot of people will only consider offers when they have pre-approval letters attached to them. And so what this means is that you actually have to go through the mortgage process prior to going house shopping. And it's really simple to do. You can do this online or over the phone. It's really not too intensive. It took us maybe about a couple hours to get a couple offers lined up. And once you do that, it makes the home buying process way easier from that point on. And you have a better idea of what your monthly payments will be, as well as your interest rate and what you can generally afford when you're shopping. Because again, you don't want to put yourself in a position where you become house poor, where you end up spending more money on a house than you can really afford. Which leads us to the next thing, and that is buying more house than you can actually afford. Remember that homeownership goes just beyond what you have to pay on a monthly basis for the mortgage. You have to factor in other things like HOA fees and utilities and just general repairs and upkeeping type things that you will have to take on as you become a homeowner. Because while you're renting, a lot of those maintenance issues actually fall under the control of the landlord or the property manager, but when you become the homeowner, that is on you. If you need to repair your roof, that is on you. If your hot water heater goes out, that is on you, and you get the point. So make sure you factor in all of those little details before you actually come up with a number of what you think you can afford for a house. Now the next thing you want to look out for is determining whether home buying is really the right way to go for you. Because it's not always 100% foolproof that buying a home is better than renting. You have to look at your overall circumstances. Are you planning to be within an area for a couple years? If you just move to a certain area and your job, situation might fluctuate and you might actually move to a different city in a couple years, you don't need to really purchase because then you'll end up being underwater on your house. And the rule of thumb that I live by is 3 to 5 years. If you don't think you're going to own your property for 3 to 5 years, it's really not a good time for you to buy. Because again, you have to factor in if you purchase a house and end up selling it within a couple years, any equity you build will probably go a way of like seller fees in terms of paying for agents and closing costs and things like this. So you'll actually end up losing money on the property. And a lot of people don't want to actually take on the costs associated with being a homeowner, things like the maintenance that you actually have to upkeep yourself People just prefer to have a landlord or a property manager take care of those things. So in those situations, obviously, homeownership is not the right way to go. Now, the next mishap to avoid is thinking that you can only purchase a house if you have 20% available for a down payment. That's just simply not true anymore. Actually, a lot of lenders will loan to you the money you need to purchase a house with as little as 3% down. And there's also FHA loans out there available with 3.5% down. So make sure you explore your options and realize that you don't necessarily have to have the 20% as a down payment for you to become a homeowner. In fact, we ended up putting way less than 20% when we secured our loan. Because again, it's better to have a little bit of extra money saved aside for any kind of issues that you run into down the road, as opposed to just putting every single cent you have as a down payment for your house. Which brings me to my next point of putting every single penny you have saved down as the down payment cost and thinking that that's all you need, because it's not true. You're going to need also about 2 to 6% for closing costs, as well as some general things before you move in. Are you going to need to buy some new furniture? Is the carpet something that needs to be changed before you move in? Do you want to do any other kinds of repairs before actually moving into the place? So if you have $50,000 saved up, don't just throw the whole $50,000 down as a down payment, because you have to factor in all those other costs. Now, the next mistake you want to avoid is applying for other credit or accumulating debt before you actually close on your house, because that can totally derail the whole mortgage process. As you're being evaluated for a mortgage, as you're being evaluated by lenders to actually give you this money to go buy a house, they're going to be looking at a lot of things, specifically your debt to income ratio. And if that changes too much before you actually close, you could actually end up delaying your closing or just not qualify for a loan any longer with that lender. So make sure whatever you do, put everything on a freeze as soon as you sign a contract for your home and start getting into the lending process to originate your loan. Do not rack up any more debt and do not change any of your status when it comes to existing credit. So for example, in my situation, I had actually just opened an Apple Card a couple weeks before we put a contract on our home. So I had to go through this whole process of getting the lender on the phone, getting the folks at the Goldman Sachs office who handle the Apple Card payments, getting all these parties on the phone just to confirm that I had opened this card prior to actually qualifying for this loan and that there was no outstanding balance on it, and just a few other checks that they needed to do, but it was just one extra thing that I had to do in order to get approved for my loan. So again, you want to make sure that it's as easy of a process from beginning to end, because buying a home is actually just a generally stressful process, and you want to make sure it's as easy as possible for you. And with that also goes changing your employment status. Don't change jobs in the middle of this process. It's really a pretty quick process from beginning to end. If you find the house you want and you want to get approved, you can close as quickly as 30 to 45 days. So it really doesn't take that much time. Don't change your job in the middle of this. If you have been interviewing before buying this house and you're ready to go and start with a new employer, push it out 30 to 60 days, because it really, again, you're gonna have to go through this whole process all over again with the lender if you do end up changing your jobs. They're going to need to verify your employment. They're going to want to know why you changed jobs. They're going to want to check everything all over again. So it's really going to delay the process. Don't change your job if you can help it. And finally, the biggest mistake you really want to avoid when purchasing a home is not paying attention to the lender's request when it comes to documentation. Because again, delays in providing the lender the information they need to approve you for your loan will just delay your home ownership process. So make sure you are attentive and make sure you are responsive to any document requests you get from your lenders. And that's really it. It's really quite simple to go through the home ownership process. I found it really easy. I didn't think I was initially going to be ready to go through the process because I was just a little overwhelmed by it all, but after getting into it, it really was an easy process from beginning to end. There were some things that I learned that I shared with you here today, so it's really not that intimidating. If you're ready to make the plunge, do some research, make sure you're in a good enough financial position to go for it, and then go for it. All right guys, well that's all I had for this video. If you did enjoy it or have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. And obviously, if you're new to the channel, please take a moment and just click the subscribe button down below. It really means a lot. It brings a lot of support and joy to me, and we'll see you next time.